I've always found that being in person at a company always allowed me to be constantly networking when I was in the office or when I was interacting with other people. Um, and from a HR standpoint, specifically like succession planning and looking at your talent pool, and I think there's going to be a big disconnect that gets created from companies not being able to get a pulse on their workforce the same way they were previously. Um, how I mean, it kind of goes in the same boat, right? It's going to be how can we leverage the technology that we're using in the workplace to start having those kind of interactions. Do you see that being something that's being talked about? And if so, how are companies maybe preparing for something like that?
I'm not hearing enough about that. I,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not hearing enough about using different platforms or different widgets to actually do business and to collect data that will help us for like succession planning.
Hmm.
And I think we have to again be more intentional about having a way of collecting these data. And it doesn't even have to be data that's like formal, but it can be kind of like I was talking with Brendan the other day, and he had mentioned an interest in, working in this unit at some point. And somewhere, if that's just kind of noted, it's similar to um, just kind of the talk in passing or
Hmm.
in meeting somebody somewhere. We
Yeah.
just have to have a way of capturing that information and being able to share it in a way that is, I know we have to be careful about what's confidential or that sort of stuff, but we really have to communicate more digitally.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Right. We have to maybe over communicate
Yeah,
so that we can just get the same level of interaction.
yeah,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that changes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of exactly how a lot of hospitals work, right? With their online software is that if you interact with a patient or a client, then you make a note,
Yeah.
and then everybody has that internal um, access to that note so that they know that they spoke to them yesterday or they spoke to them 2 minutes ago. If
Hmm.
they were at a different hospital within the
Hmm.
system, then they have
Hmm.
access to that. And Uh, so yeah, that's super beneficial for me in my work. And then I also know that it's also super challenging at a different, like at different places that I've worked in the past, to where like communication is just through email, and I'm not gonna like put everybody that I work with in one email.
No.
Everybody gets email blasted. So yeah, having that like
That dreaded
centralized,
reply all. Why
yeah,
did they
right.
reply all? Yeah.
Yeah, that piece is it's so important, and I think I didn't really realize how important it was until you really mentioned it now.
Mhm.
And now reflecting back on my work, like I'm so much more productive when I have all this access and know everything that's going on. And I think that's a lot of the anxiety and stress I feel with remote work is that I really don't have that, and it's really
Well,
lacking.
Nick, you raise a really good point because not only do we have to collect data that we didn't collect before, we have to figure out where and how to store it and who to give access to. All of these
Mhm.
privacy issues, and we have to be careful about those things. But then now we have to learn new systems for, well, what time of day do I stop and refer to that? Because maybe there's stuff being loaded in this, database that I should just be making it a habit to go and check and see what's new. Kind of like what's the newest gossip sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What is there that I don't, no one's alerted me that I have to go learn, but I would learn something if I went in and reviewed these data. So I think we have to learn, we have to kind of relearn how we work. All of the parts are moving right now, all of the parts. I think people are trying to figure out, how much do I want to stay remote? Do I want to go back into an office 2 days a week or 3 days a week? And what does that mean? And what kind of rules do we have about having all hands meetings? everything is potentially different, and we could come up with some great new wonderful things,
Hmm.
like you mentioned before, Brendan, about cutting back the commute time. We can help clean up the air if everybody would stop driving so much. That would be fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it even gets me thinking too about like some of the features that are on LinkedIn that maybe weren't taken very seriously before, but now, like for example, if I was on LinkedIn, I could go to Nick's profile and I could endorse him as a strong communicator, and that
mm,
would live on his profile. And I think something like that is going to end up being very valuable because otherwise, if you're not interacting with people, um, there's not really any other way for you to get that data point on somebody, whether or not they have those skills or qualifications, if you don't know about it. Like you have to know about it, right? So like you're
right.
saying, we're collecting all this data all of a sudden. Got so much data that we could collect that would really help inform the workplace better. And that's going to be interesting because you can't collect everything, especially
No,
not at once. So because
and
like
it
you're
would
saying, you
drive
got
you
to
nuts to
house
have
it.
to. Yeah.
You would go nuts. Yeah.
Oh, sifting through it all, that's all you would do. You'd never get anything done. So
Yeah,
we're going to have to, it's going to be a whole new process of learning how to
totally.
figure out how to do this and what's important and what you let go. And yeah, but I think communication skills are going to really rock it in terms of
Yeah.
importance. Yeah.
Warren Buffett says that's one of the number one skills he think anybody entering work can gain is learn how to be an effective communicator because I mean, it's people. Communicating is number one skill between people.
Yeah. And now it's not only communicating in visual form here, but it's also your emails or your posts in on working apps like Asana or Slack or whatever.
Right.
That all of that stuff, being able to do that really crisply, clearly to the point, and everybody gets it quickly. That's going to be super valuable.
Mhm.